Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So some of you may remember this video. I've already uploaded it once, but the quality of the audio was just so incredibly horrible. I had to take it down and I am reshooting it now. So just a word of introduction. I am not from the UK. I know that native speakers, I know that English people are obviously able to tell that I'm not from around here. Because my accent is not perfect, but there are some people from outside the UK that sometimes confuse me for a British person, which I am not. So yeah, that's out of the way now, and I rewatched that video looking for some tips that I might give you again. And the first thing I said in that previous video, which is kind of sad by the way, but anyway, I talked about how I am incredibly self-conscious. I used to be an incredibly self-conscious human in general, not just about language, but yeah, language was a huge part of it. And since I moved to London for good a few months ago, I had to step out of my comfort zone a lot, and the tip I was giving was that you cannot be self-conscious. If you wanna learn a different language, you cannot be self-conscious. You are allowed to make mistakes. It's not your first language. The fact that you're speaking in a different language at all, that's admirable. So, to be honest, what I was most worried about was speaking to English people. And it turned out that they care the least, honestly. They care the least. No one has ever laughed at me when I made a mistake. They are very incredibly forgiving, incredibly kind, polite. So please do not worry about this. I used to be incredibly worried, but just a few months of practice and using the language in an actual conversation around the city and with humans changed a lot. So don't be self-conscious. Allow yourself to make mistakes. And also practice. I cannot stress that enough. My language used to be kind of good before I came here, and before I had to use it on a daily basis, before I was completely immersed in it. Yeah, it was kind of good, but because I've been studying English ever since I was 6 and I'm almost 31, so yeah, it would be weird if it wasn't good. But yeah, what I wanted to say is that just knowing the language without practicing it on a daily basis in a conversation, it's not good enough. It gives you a great basis for being fluent, but you can only reach fluency through actually speaking the language on a, well, maybe not a daily basis, but you really need to start using it in conversation with other people. I know it might be difficult, but you really need to try and find at least one person that will want to communicate with you in the language that you're trying to learn. Maybe just, find someone else, find a friend who is trying to study a language as well. That's going to make it a lot more comfortable. But also put yourself out there and break through that fear of speaking to native speakers. It's really incredibly important. And as a very anxious person myself back in the day about my language, I can assure you there's nothing to be afraid of. There's really nothing to be afraid of. Now, I need to stress that I know that there is no such thing as a British accent. British accent, because there are multiple accents in the UK. But just for the sake of this video, please don't get annoyed at me for using the term British accent. I want to say maybe London accent, but not even that. There are so many accents I can hear while being here, living here in London, that is just not an accurate term. But for the lack of a better term, that's what I shall use in this video. So this is one of the most frequently asked questions for me. Where, because I never studied accent on purpose. I never practiced accent. I just had it. And the first thing I have, I think, well, sadly, kind of sadly, not sadly for people who've got language talent, but yeah, there's something called a talent when it comes to languages. Some people are just better at learning languages, and also I think the accent thing is a weird mix of having good hearing and being able to recreate the sound. So yeah, I seem to be lucky. However, the truth is that before I got my kind of British accent, I used to speak with an American accent, and the fact, like my original accent, the country where I come from, was way more, well, not visible, but I can't come up with the word for, can come up for the equivalent of visible when it comes to when it comes to sound. What's going on with me today? Okay, anyway, how I got it is I was completely surrounded for years and years by videos and films of, generally speaking, British people. Most of it was stand-up comedians. Like lots of my accent comes from Eddie Izzard, my favourite stand-up comedian, actually. Back in the day, I used to watch a lot of English YouTubers, so that probably helps a lot. As I've said, I didn't practice it, but I was surrounding myself with the language on a daily basis. So I guess it just automatically kind of stuck with me. And as I've said, the fact that I kind of have a gift for being able to recreate sounds just helped a lot. But just immerse yourself in the language every day. Read every day, read articles every day, watch videos, watch films every day. The best thing to do is to find something that interests you. The BBC has a really nice range of all sorts of programs. I personally am very interested in science, so those were the programs that I have chosen to watch. So yeah, just find something that interests you and you'll be good. Another thing is getting an audiobook and a physical copy of a book. So that helps a lot with pronunciation. So you're reading the words, right? And you're automatically hearing them. Also, I feel like my accent has been getting better, especially over the past few months, since I've spent more time in the UK. So it proves that just being surrounded by real life language helps a lot. Like my first attempt at like even the living with depression video from 3 or 4 years ago, my first attempt at the so-called British accent, not really that great. I hope I sound way better now. Well, maybe not way better, but still better than I used to sound back then. So it just goes to show that practice surrounding yourself with the language, and you can get better without trying to get better if you just immerse yourself in the language. Another thing you should do at some point is start watching, well, obviously, if you are learning a language, you probably are already doing that, which is watching films in the language that you're learning with subtitles. But at some point, it's really, really important. At some point, you need to ditch the subtitles. And it's gonna feel weird at first, and you probably won't understand at least 30% of what's being said in the film at first, but it gets better in time. So you just need to it's a matter of getting used to it. So definitely start watching films without subtitles. Another interesting thing that you probably could try if you're after pronunciation would be to watch films and just try and repeat the sentences that are coming from the actors. I'm not really a huge fan of working with a textbook and a CD, audio CD attached to it, because I think all of the learning materials, sorry to speak, it's probably not the word, but anyway, you know what I mean. It sounds very automatic, doesn't really sound real. So I would say that it's better to just use actual films to practice your pronunciation. When it comes to grammar, sadly, you will need to spend hours and hours and hours and hours of work, exercise with textbooks. Well, at least for me, that worked the best. I don't think there's any other way around it. When it comes to vocabulary, I know that when I first released this video and I said this, there were some people that did not agree with me, but personally speaking, I find this to be the most effective way of learning vocabulary, which means I don't really do that anymore, but I used to just write down all of the words I did not understand. I would write them down within a sentence. I would also just write down a translation, and I would just learn them by heart. There is no other way. Well, there are other ways around it, but I do think that this is the quickest, the most boring one, and the most annoying one, but the quickest as well. You won't remember all of the words instantly, but the first time you try to remember them, you're going to remember 30%. The second time, you're going to remember 40, 50. Sorry about the annoying changes in light, but today is just not my day. Also, just a random thought about something I said in the beginning, about speaking in front of other people and having this language anxiety. Well, think about yourself. If me, for example, if someone came up to me and tried speaking in my language, I wouldn't laugh at them if they made a mistake. I would just be in awe that they are actually able to say anything at all in my language. And I really think that that's a thing for most people in the world. People are just grateful to be able to communicate, and they don't judge. You wouldn't judge, and trust me, other people don't judge the same way you don't. Keep practicing, try to keep the language active. I remember I used to know German and French pretty well, but they just I stopped using those languages, and it just fell out of my mind, just disappeared, vanished into thin air. So just, if you really care about a specific language, just try and practice it every day. Also, keep in mind that this is not going to be easy. This is not going to be a short process. I bet there are some magical solutions online to learning a language in I don't know, 6 weeks or something. I don't believe that. To be honest, I think it takes years and years and years to be able to be completely fluent, to be able to not be anxious, about your language at all. It's gonna take a few years, at least a couple years. So just be patient. Don't expect yourself to be amazing instantly, because you probably won't be. So patience, hard work, unfortunately. And I guess that's it. Okay, so I feel like I've covered all of the bullet point from the previous video. Honestly, just lots of hard work, but also patience. Don't be too hard on yourself. Just find a way to make it fun. Find a way to make it fun. Maybe try using some online apps as well. These could help. I've been kind of trying to learn Spanish and Russian a little bit with Duolingo, which has been fun, kind of. I don't really know that much. I haven't really learned that much, but it's been fun to just use the app and be kind of in the language from time to time. So just find a way to make it fun. And I think that's it. If you've got any additional questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will try and answer them maybe in a Q&A video. So that's pretty much it for today. Thank you for watching. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye, and sorry for the annoying changing light again. Bye.